Good evening, everyone. Okay, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular Board of Education meeting of April 8th, 2025. Anthony, John, all those in favor? That's everyone. Okay. Dr. Farrelly.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Before we begin tonight's presentations, I would like to provide a few updates for our board and for our community. I'll start off with our elementary consolidation update. Couple of quick items, right? Notification letters were sent out to families earlier this month on April 11th. There's a parent square message that was sent out on April 14th. Our students have been entered into eSchool, right, our student information system. We know that that's part of the process, right, into the new attendance zones for the next school year. The room availability has been reviewed in all of the locations multiple times. Building principal meetings have occurred, again, with our central team to review sections and tentative staff relocation. Forest Avenue staff members have been, the majority of them have been notified of their new building location and tentative grade assignments by phone. Letters are going to be sent to formalize that process in the next few days. Our support staff, right, remains tentative, right, in response to some student needs at each of the locations. Elective areas, those remain tentative again, also in response to what the ultimate, depends on the final master schedule. Once that's completed, then the elective areas would be finalized. Non-instructional staff, second follow-up meetings are going to be taking place in the next couple of days. Student placements for E&L students and for students that are recommended for special programs, such as the integrated setting and self-contained special class programs, will receive formal notification of placement either during their upcoming CSE meeting or as a follow-up, right, from our Student Services Office. That will also happen shortly. Questions with regards to the attendance zone can be sent to either Mr. Hanley, Mr. Payne, or myself via email. An FAQ document is being developed, and we are going to be posting that on our website. Transportation, I received a couple of questions with regards to transportation limits. As such, I'd like to provide just a short update on our West Babylon transportation limits. In general, boards of education are legally required to provide transportation for students in kindergarten through 8th grade if they live between 2 and 15 miles from their school, right? And students in 9th through 12th grade between 3 and 15 miles from their school, right? In our school district, this has been established for many years, the Board of Education authorizes transportation to students residing in the school district for all elementary school students between 0.5 and 15 miles from school, and for junior high school and senior high school students between 0.8 and 15 miles, right? So obviously that's a larger range, right, than required in terms of by the state, and that's by not just policy 8400. In order to change those actual mileage limitations, that actually would require a community vote. The budget, as we all know, was adopted during the prior meeting on April 8th. The proposed budget that is being presented to our community is $136,150,120. Next year's proposed budget is approximately $199,000 less than this school year's budget. The proposed tax levy is our cap, right, at 2.06%. All the required reporting and documentation that we have to complete on a local level, right, and state level, that is all being completed. The budget hearing is scheduled to take place on May 13th here in this room. The district budget vote and trustee election will take place on May 20th from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. here in administration and also at Sanapog. Tonight is the BOCE's budget vote and BOCE's board trustee election. The final budget presentation can be found on our website. And again, questions with regard to the budget can be sent to any one of the central administrators. Next year's elementary enrichment program, I am thrilled that I know during the prior board meeting it was discussed that we're recently able to determine the ability to have the staffing to reinstate the new enrichment program for our students. This will be similar to last year's enrichment program. Once next year's schedule and programs are fully established, meaning the sections, the elementary schedule, the student criteria, the student numbers, we will provide a board presentation overview of the program as we've done in the past. I believe there was a question during the last meeting with regards to field trips. So this current school year, right, the 24-25 school year, we did not have any budget allocation for field trips in our budget. This was removed after last year's initial budget failed. For next year, we reestablished a budget line of $14,000 for field trips. Just to clarify, transportation is not included in that budget line. This is strictly for entrance fees, right, for some school field trips, right? Some examples like the Old Beth Page Restoration, Cold Spring Harbor, fish hatchery, right, entrance fees, right, for trips similar to those. Basically, this amount that we indicated there, right, will be divided amongst our schools. It does not mean that every class, right, will go on a trip. That wasn't the case even when we had a larger, right, budget allocation. Trips like the 11th grade trip to New York City, right, the 9/11 sites, the visits to SUNY, right, or any trip that requires transportation outside of a transportation department, midday timing, right, those would not be included as part of this. And just as a reminder, classroom field trips, they're not predetermined, right, by central admin or the building principals. Our classroom teachers, right, obviously in working with the building principals during the school year, they plan their field trips, right, and if approved by the principal, then those move forward. So basically, when we ultimately have a 25-26 school year community approved budget, a field trip spreadsheet will then be created and shared with the principals to ensure that we stay within the budget, right? So again, to be clear, it doesn't mean that every class, right, K through 12 will be going on a trip. It doesn't mean, that everything that previously happened we included is for, that's not what is in that budget line. It does include, again, allocations for some of those trips that we previously had. And last, just on a personal note, on behalf of actually, before I indicate that, I do want to provide a quick update on UPK, right? We just shared with our board. As we have been analyzing all the classrooms, the sections, the zones, we are happy to share that it looks like we will most likely be able to house 5 UPK sections within our 4 elementary schools and 1 UPK class using an external outside UPK provider. All the information with regards to UPK can be found on our website. We are going to have a lottery that will occur on April 30th, exactly the way it's happened, in the past. We will establish that list, right? There will be an order with regards to the UPK standing, again, as we've done in the last couple of years. I want to emphasize that we do not have it's not finalized in terms of the state budget, right, for UPK for all school districts. So West Babylon and all other school districts, we're proceeding with our lotteries, with our systems, with our UPK registration, but that is with the caveat, again, that we are anticipating that we will be receiving that UPK grant, right? As of right now, no school district has that as a done deal. So of course, that's pending, obviously, the funding for UPK. So more information to follow. We will post the information on our website. We'll post it on social media as well, for all those families that are interested in the UPK program. And lastly, on behalf of my family and myself, I would like to extend our deepest gratitude to all who reached out during our family's difficult time. Your kind words, your gestures, your love, your support, your compassion have meant more to us than we could ever express. So thank you again for holding us in your thoughts and prayers. And a huge thank you to Sean, Scott, Victoria, office assistants, and the board for your support as well. That's all I have for this section of the agenda.
Okay.
Thank you. I am up, yes. Okay, yes, we do not have statements for the other areas.
Nobody let us know of any, so I'm assuming no. Yeah.
Yes, no, okay. All right, so moving right along, I mentioned already the timeline in terms of May 20th, reminder of the budget vote and trustee election. At this point in time, I would like to invite, I believe I saw Ms. Alfano in the back. Tonight we have 3 presentations. The first 2 are the program evaluations. Ms. Alfano will come right off, our department chairperson. The board has received our program evaluation, right? So she will focus really more on the summary of the arts department's overall program evaluation. Mr. Payne, anything you'd like to add about process, our usual opening? Awesome. Okay. So Ms. Savano, please provide us with a summary of the program evaluation. The board has received it already.
Hi. Thank you again for having me tonight. So I do appreciate the opportunity to speak with you this evening in regards to the K-12 art program on behalf of the art department. Excuse me. As Dr. Farrelly said, I am going to be breaking this into 3 parts. So we'll be beginning with the K-5 art program evaluation. As far as the K-5 art program, we do have a lot of participation in school and district-wide events, such as the 4th grade organizer cover contest, the West Babylon Fire Department poster contest, as well as the PTA reflections. We have community displays such as the West Babylon Public Library, Board of Ed Appreciation Week displays, as well as the Arboretum poster contest in which we've received first place, Youth Art Month flag design honorable mention, as well as the Town of Babylon Recreation Guide, in which we received first place. Our program overall is a sequential program, so it does prepare students for subsequent years of instruction. We build upon foundational concepts and skills from year to year. As far as data analysis, you can see that we utilize data with informal assessments as well as formal assessments. We do a lot of project-based with the analysis of student application and skill. Our program accommodates students strongly in the areas of the needs of all students, providing appropriate remediation, as well as academic support services, which assist students to succeed in our program. We address the needs of highly competent students with appropriate enrichment as well through our flex periods. As far as motivation and enjoyment, obviously art is very engaging for all students. We use a variety of mediums as well as instructional hooks in order to engage our students with different topics, different themes that align to student grade level and interest. Our use of imagination and creativity is obviously also one of our strong points. In terms of academic support services, at this time, we do not need any additional academic support services. Our teachers communicate within the buildings and across grade levels to work with support staff as needed to accommodate student needs. Our teachers provide modifications according to address individual and classroom needs as well. Our teacher information, as far as grade level meetings, department meetings, we utilize all of these opportunities to improve instruction and enhance student achievement. Professional periods are also used to effectively discuss teaching strategies and methods, as well as the sharing of ideas. Our professional development opportunities that we use throughout the school year are addressed in terms of teachers' needs, and we also use this to align things with the New York State standards. Our teachers are encouraged to seek support from colleagues as a means to enhance instruction, as well as to utilize analysis of data, which informs our instruction. We utilize Atlas, which has had a profound impact on our program. Our scope and sequence of our program is able to be completed in our academic school year. We make adjustments, obviously, if there are delays due to timing in buildings or different assemblies and such, but for the most part, everything is able to be completed within our instructional time period. Our professional development opportunities, we participated in the last 2 years with Heckscher Museum of Art for our November conference day. We also have in-district opportunities with SCALA, which is our Suffolk County Art Leaders Association, which is one of our affiliates. We have department meetings, faculty meetings, and all of our professional development, which is coordinated with our K-5, as well as our K-8, and then K-12, respectively, as needed. In terms of technology, we utilize technology to enhance instruction with our use of the Elmo camera in the classroom, our Sharpboard, as well as our Sharp Pen software, Google applications such as Google Docs, Slides, Forms, etc. We utilize this also to analyze our data, and again with Atlas, Atlas has been very great with aligning grade levels as well as our buildings and that connectivity. At this time, we didn't feel that any instructional technology was needed or additional professional development. In terms of materials and supplies, we use supplies that are district provided for all of our materials, such as drawing paper, construction paper, anything you could think of, glue, paints, tempera paints, crayons, markers. And then in terms of our educational technology, all of our teacher created materials are utilized, which would include our handouts, worksheets, presentations, any type of instructional material where you're looking at project examples. All of that is teacher created materials. We do use those equally. So in terms of which is provided for us by the district and what is provided by our teachers individually, we felt that it was very equal. And at this time, we don't feel that we need any additional resources to enhance instruction. However, we are exploring adjustments to our 5th grade curriculum in order to enhance with the use of a technology within their Chromebooks, the possibility of adding in different applications so we can prepare the students as they go into the junior high school. At this time, we didn't have any further recommendations for the program. However, we did see a lot of positive changes, providing the collaborative opportunities to work with K through 12. We have seen an improvement in our vertical alignment of the curriculum, and again with Atlas as well. And right now, we are truly working to improve our K-5 art program and benefit the overall growth of our K-12 program. So,
Take a breath.
I know, it's a lot. Trying to keep it under the time limit. Okay. Okay. Moving on, I'm going to speak in regards to our 6-8 program. I do teach at the junior high, so obviously this is something that's very, in the back of my head all the time. As far as our student information with our 6-8 program, we do participate in a lot of school and district-wide events. We have our junior high school organizer contest, which is available to our 7th grade students. We also offer 2 art clubs at the 6th grade level and then 1 at the 7th and 8th grade level. We also have ongoing displays with the West Babylon Public Library, as well as Babylon Citizens Council on the Arts, which is, you'll hear that later, which I term as BACA. We've received awards with the Town of Babylon Littering is Trashy poster contest, as well as our Judged BACA art show. And this past year, we did have 3 winners for the Herald newspaper holiday wrapping paper contest. As far as our program preparedness, our program strongly prepares students for subsequent years of instruction. We do prepare students for New York State assessments as well as Regents. As far as data analysis is concerned, we do both formative as well as informal assessments and summative assessments. Our formative assessments would consist of our tests, quizzes, rubrics, self-reflections. And then our informal assessments, we utilize partner work, peer sharing, class discussions, class critiques. And then our final exam would be considered our formal assessment, which is done through Google Docs as well as Google Forms. Program accommodation information. We strongly felt across the board that our program accommodates the needs of all students. It provides appropriate remediation as needed, as well as utilizing recommended academic support services. The program is extremely motivating and engaging. As you'll see, this will be a kind of a theme across the board throughout our entire K-12 program. With art, we do try to support the horizontal articulation of other subject areas, such as ELA, as well as math. We also have a lot of real-life connections, and we try to support the social and emotional learning of our students. It is also extremely engaging in terms of promoting student choice and giving students an opportunity to have a voice within their decision-making process in terms of demonstrating their subject matter with their own individual interests. As far as academic services, support services are needed, at this time we don't feel that we need any additional academic support services. We communicate as needed with other building level teachers, support staff, as well as other professional staff to accommodate the student needs and to suit the needs of all learners. Our teachers provide modifications accordingly to differentiate instruction on a daily basis. Our teachers also participate in a lot of faculty department meetings as well as grade level meetings to improve instruction and to support the student achievement. We have professional development opportunities which are offered throughout the school year by both the district as well as outside district opportunities, and the scope and sequence of the curriculum align with our New York State standards. At this time, our scope and sequence is able to be completed throughout the school year, and any adjustments that are needed are made within the daily learnings with our classroom to accommodate any building level needs such as assemblies or any other delays in instruction. In terms of professional development, we have participated as well as the K-5 teachers with the Heckscher Museum of Art on our November Conference Day. We also have opportunities which are provided through our district membership to Scala, as I stated earlier, department meetings as well as faculty meetings, and department meetings that are made which are based just on professional development to address particular student needs as well as teacher needs. In terms of technology information, technology has been a strong point for the art department. We really have increased it in the past 4 years, especially when it came to COVID and the switch over to the use of Chromebooks. It has really been an enhancement to our instruction, and we've seen an improvement in student achievement. Our technology that we utilize in our daily lessons and presentation would be our Elmo camera, Sharpboard, Sharp Pen software, as well as that Google Suite technology, as I stated earlier, with Google Slides, Google Docs, Google Forms, etc. At this time, additional technology is not needed to improve instruction. However, additional time would be wonderful to meet as a K-12 department. As you know, it is difficult to align throughout the all buildings at the same time, and this would definitely benefit the vertical articulations of the curriculum as well as community engagement. As far as materials and supply information, similarly to the K-5 grade level, we use our district-provided materials, and we are very thankful for that budget. All district-provided materials provide us with the materials that we need and the mediums that we need in order to provide instruction to the students. That would include drawing paper, paint, watercolor, acrylic, tempera paints, drawing pencils, charcoal, and as well as other advanced media that we may need at the junior high school. As far as educational technology, as I stated earlier, we do utilize those Elmo cameras, teacher laptops, as well as the student Chromebooks on a daily basis. The teacher-created materials that are utilized are any type of handouts, any presentations that you may see. That would include handouts, worksheets, final exams, Sharpboard presentations. All of these we feel was a nice split, as I stated earlier, with the K-5 program, where all district materials that are provided are used for the actual art making, and then the presenting techniques, presenting project examples, PowerPoint, slideshows are all teacher created. At this time, we did not feel that additional resources were needed to enhance instruction. However, we are looking to increase our district accessible digital tools such as Photoshop, which could be beneficial and aid in the 21st century art skill set for students. At this time, we don't have any other recommendations or concerns for the program. However, we would love the opportunity to reinstate the Art Workshop program, which was an advanced 7th grade course, which would offer our students the benefit of an art sequence course choices at the senior high school, and we would see an improvement, I believe, across the vertical articulation. We have also seen positive changes with our use of technology, as I stated earlier, working collaboratively with our K-12 program this year with our fellow colleagues, and we have seen improvement in the vertical alignment with the use of Atlas for curricular goals. Overall, we are working to improve the 6-8 art program and benefit the overall growth of the K-12 program. Are we ready for 9-12? Okay.
Ready.
Okay. All right, at the senior high school level, we have a lot of awards which we've received in the past 4 years. We have participation in school and district-wide events. Our National Art Honor Society is definitely a large contributor to this. We also have Art Club as well as Mural Club when it's offered. We have displays in the senior high school gallery across from the PAC, as well as the Board of Education boardroom displays, as you can see in the back. We have community displays at the West Babylon Public Library, as well as Scala, Heckscher Museum, the Veterans Day exhibit, which was at the Patchogue Center for the Arts, as well as the Babylon Citizens Council on the Arts. We've had many recognitions over the years between BACA, as I stated earlier, that's the Babylon Art Councils Association. We also have Scala Invitational Teacher-Student Show, where our teachers have displayed alongside of our students. We've had Suffolk County Community College High School Art Exhibit, as well as the BACA Senior Scholarship Competition. We've also done some recent murals at both Cedar Beach, as well as other local beaches in the town of Babylon. Last year, we did have students submit artwork for the Suffolk Community College, a little bit of a tongue twister there, high school art exhibit, and we had 5 submissions as well as 1 honorable mention. As far as our program is concerned, we do feel like that it strongly prepares students for subsequent years of instruction. As far as data analysis, we use this with both our formative and our summative assessments with tests, quizzes, rubrics, as well as self-reflections. Our informal assessments would consist of personal reflections. We do a lot of writing where they are self-reflecting and looking back on their artwork to display beside their artwork. We also offer opportunities for class critiques where they're reflecting on their student learning. We also have formal assessments with final projects, and in some of our upper level classes, we do a body of artwork which consists of a theme, and that would be presented in a portfolio with our upper level classes. As far as our program accommodation information, this program definitely accommodates the needs of all learners. We did neither agree nor disagree that the program provided appropriate remediation for our students that needed academic support services, but we do agree that the program addresses the needs of highly competent students with appropriate enrichment. The program is definitely, as stated, I said this would be a theme. It's very motivating and engaging for all of our students. We offer a variety of classes, variety of subject matter, different mediums and styles, as well as our variety of teaching styles. This promotes the creativity for students, critical thinking, visual communication, as well as student choice, which helps to demonstrate subject matter with their own individual interests. We also have opportunities for the students to take art sequence courses for higher level art students. At this time, we did not feel that any additional academic support services were needed. In terms of teacher information, our teachers, again, throughout the district, we are always working with grade level meetings, faculty meetings, department meetings to utilize this time to really enhance our instruction and our student achievement. We strongly feel that our professional periods provide effective opportunities to discuss teaching methods, strategies, and the sharing of ideas. And we also feel that in district professional development, opportunities are offered throughout the school year. We would love the opportunity for more content-specific professional development if that was an opportunity provided. As far as the scope and sequence of the curriculum, we do align this with the New York State standards, and the teachers are often seeking support from other colleagues as a means to enhance instruction. We do provide opportunities for our entire scope and sequence to be completed within the academic year. Each individual course can be completed. Again, it's not as it is with a 6-8 program where it is like subsequent years of instruction. These are all individual-based courses. In terms of professional development opportunities, the high school teachers have participated in Superintendent's Conference Day, which they really enjoyed this year with training with Canva, eSchool, as well as mindfulness through Zentangles. We also provide opportunities with our district membership to Scala for outside district membership opportunities. Department meetings are based for our provide professional development. And again, this would address any student needs as well as teacher needs. Our technology definitely meets the needs of the program and provides data analysis to inform our instruction, and we strongly agree that our technology enhances instruction and student achievement. This would include, as far as technology is concerned, our Elmo camera, Sharpboard, Photoshop, which is utilized with our Chromebooks, not our Chromebooks, our teacher laptops, as well as student Chromebooks, our Google applications such as Google Slides, Google Docs, Google Sheets, as well as Google Forms. We utilize Google Forms to analyze data and enhance instruction, to inform our instruction, and develop different plans as moving forward. As far as additional technology, the only concern that we had this year was that we did have a need for 3 additional laptops for our class of 28 students in our photography program. However, Corey Kindelman was able to loan us 3 additional teacher laptops this year, which definitely was wonderful, so we do appreciate that, and that was utilized as of February. At this time, we are looking forward to having additional meeting time if given the opportunity for our K-12 department, as I said earlier, with the 6-8 program, and this would definitely enhance our instruction as well as the vertical articulations of the curriculum in order to develop content, grade level, and art-related concepts. At this time, our materials and supply information is consistent across the board, where we feel that the district provides wonderful opportunities for our art making materials, such as at the college level quality materials for our supplies, drawing paper, Copic markers, airbrush tools, ceramic tools for our ceramics class, paints, brushes, charcoal, etc. Our educational technology is utilized as well within these programs, as I stated earlier, and in terms of which is used mostly, it is definitely an equal split in terms of the technology, which is utilized for the teachers with presentations for teacher creative materials, and then all other art making materials are provided by our district budget. At this time, we don't feel that we have any need for additional resources to enhance instruction. However, due to rising supply costs, our program would benefit from an increase in the supply budget, as our vendor costs have risen while our budget has remained the same. At this time, we don't have any other recommendations or concerns for the program. However, we would, if given the opportunity to reinstate our advanced placement studio art and AP art history courses as offerings, it would definitely benefit our art sequence students for college and career readiness, as well as benefit the enrichment courses for our advanced level art students. At this point, we are very glad to see it running for next year, so we're very happy to see that. We've had very positive changes working collaboratively with our K-12 colleagues, and in terms of our goals, we would love to see an increase in our enrollment in our elective courses and really bring that to life, as well as promoting the arts in our K-12 program and the community. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well done. Dr. Neville?
We just underscore how wonderful the art shows are, both at the middle school and at the high school. It's always so impressive to see the artwork, and it's really nice to see students bringing their parents or family members or friends around to see their artwork, and it's just really nice. What are the dates? Do we have the dates this year?
We do have the dates. I don't have it off the top of my head, as I have about 7 of them right now, but I can send that out to the board. You will receive invitations as well, so Dr. Farrelly as well as all the board members. Okay. Thank you.
I had a question. You had referenced the use of technology as it pertained to, I guess, communicating and illustrating to the kids the tasks at hand. Are they using the use of a computer in any type of drawing applications? I know you mentioned Photoshop, but that's probably a photography class specifically.
Sure. So at the high school level, we do utilize Photoshop at the photography level.
Right.
We do utilize it at the junior high school. Right now, we're actually using AI tools with the students for artificial intelligence and trying to use that as a tool to enhance learning rather than a cheating mechanisms, really, so they can own it and use it as a powerful tool to increase their engagement and their motivation within the projects. We do utilize Photoshop as well. However, we don't have access to that currently on our Chromebook, so it is something that we can look for in the future.
Okay. Yeah. So at what point I don't know if you compared other districts, do they start introducing artwork on the computer to kids? Is there a certain grade level that's best at, or?
That is a good question. It's definitely something I can look into.
Yeah.
I would say typically this is going to be done more at like the 7th and 8th grade level.
Right, that's what I was
But again, I would
thinking,
have to look into local districts to really give you accurate information.
Okay. I was just curious because I know they have the pens and the pencils that you can draw and then
Right.
manipulate the artwork. And
So we do have Wacom. Excuse me, I'm not exactly sure. It's WACOM. I want to say Wacom. I don't know if Corey Kindleman's back here. He might be able to tell us. But those are tablets that we utilize at the Studio Art level program, and we do
okay.
have those. Those are a rather costly item because each one would need an individual Wacom tablet. However, those are more for the drawing applications. We
Okay.
also have, especially during COVID, when we had to find drawing-based applications, we were utilizing Canvas, which is Google Canvas, I believe, on the
Right.
Chromebooks, which was an application right within our Google Suites, and that was very helpful.
Okay. And then the last question is, I know we're always involved in, I think we've painted storefronts in the village and we've done stuff at the beach. How do we find all those opportunities? Is that just from knowing they're out there, or do they get, those opportunities get sent to us? And
A combination of both.
Okay.
This year, we did have an opportunity for the junior high. We did windows in Babylon Village, and we actually got second place. I don't know if I told everyone that.
that's great.
So we did receive that during the holiday decorating, and that was offered by a parent who was affiliated with our a sixth grade art student parent in the West Babylon. However, a lot of the information does come through us off the desk of Dr. Farrelly with things that are sent through the town of Babylon, such as the mural opportunity. But it really varies. Right now, we also have been working with West Babylon Library, in which I reached out to the West Babylon Library to coordinate those art shows. So it depends on the variety of pathways.
thanks.
You're welcome.
I have a question regarding the seventh grade art workshop program. How is that different from the studio art that they can go into in eighth grade?
Sure.
Do you feel it needs to be that's a prerequisite to it, or is it totally different to the studio art?
Sure. So the seventh grade art workshop program was a program in a similar capacity. So this program was a full year course. However, it met for 20 weeks in lieu of the 40 weeks. So with this program, they had the same portfolio where they had to have a portfolio process as a sixth grade student in order to get into this advanced seventh grade class. It was a feeder program, however, to the eighth grade studio class. So when we had that program, we had about 56 students. So we had 28 in each class, 2 sections. So they met every other day for a full year. With that program, when we had 56 students, and then we had going down into a 28 pool for our studio students, we then had a very high interest in the class. And unfortunately, because it was such a high interest, not every student got into the program. Now, with the cutting of that program, we are seeing a lower pool of students that are applying for our studio class. So with that, that means sometimes we have 22, sometimes it's 20. So unfortunately, you're seeing a trickle-down effect. And then that also then affects our high school as well. But in terms of answering your question, both of them provide that enhanced, enriched program. It's a wonderful program. I did teach it, so obviously I'm a little bit more, I'm supportive of this program, but it really was a wonderful program that really enhanced our students as well as our vertical articulation.
Questions? All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
At this point, I'd like to invite Mr. Duran, who will provide a summary update on our music department's program evaluation. Good to see you, Mr. Duran.
Good evening, everyone. Good to see you all. Before we get into the details, I just want to take a moment again to thank all of you. Your ongoing support and perseverance has made it possible for us to keep our music programs running, even in the face of some real challenges. Tonight, I'd like to talk about the tremendous impact music education has on our students. It goes beyond just learning how to sing or play an instrument. While most academic subjects focus on cognitive development, things like memorizing, analyzing, problem solving, music goes further. It also nurtures emotional growth and physical coordination skills. Music touches on 3 key learning areas: the cognitive domain, the affective domain, and the psychomotor domain. That means our students aren't just thinking and creating. They're also learning how to express emotions, collaborate with others, work together as a team, and develop fine and gross motor skills. So let's get into elementary music. Our students are engaged in a wide range of experiences in the elementary music classroom. They sing songs in different styles, genres. They play instruments like recorders, ukuleles, rhythm instruments, or xylophones and metallophones. They explore music through movement, dance, and partner games. These activities help develop not just music skills, but also critical thinking and cultural awareness skills. We also celebrate student participation and achievement. Our students receive participation awards for participating in before or after school ensembles, such as chorus. We also give special recognition awards for students who are invited to participate in our SCMEA All-County Festivals and also NYSSMA Solo Festivals, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. From a curriculum standpoint, we're well aligned with the New York State Art Standards. Our teachers use a combination of district-provided materials, online resources, self-composed works to create engaging lessons for all of our students. We've also added the Quaver Music Education software curriculum, which has brought consistency with our curriculum, as well as improved our instructional quality across the board. We would love to see it become a permanent part of our K-5 music program. That would involve a yearly subscription. We have regular meetings, professional development, collaboration with our county and statewide professional music affiliate programs to keep our teachers well supported and well informed. Still, we see an opportunity to better integrate performing ensembles into a teacher's regular schedule so that they're not seen as extra or optional programs. Our current model, particularly for chorus, makes it difficult for all students to participate because of conflicts with transportation and other programs that are going on before or after school. Moving on to our grades 4 or 5 instrumental music program. Moving into instrumental music for 4th and 5th grade, students who perform band and orchestra not only receive participation certificates, but they also gain valuable experience for those students who perform at our NYSSMA Solo Festivals and SCMEA All-County Festivals. We use formative assessments to track their growth, things like listening very closely, offering constant feedback, and observing techniques and understanding. These help us guide instruction and support each student more effectively. The program accommodates a wide range of learners. We offer remediation and academic supports where needed, and we provide enrichment through before and after school ensembles such as band and orchestra. What we see again and again is how much students love playing their instruments together with their friends and the sense of teamwork and camaraderie that it builds. One ongoing challenge that we do have is our teachers travel between multiple buildings. This makes it tough for them to meet the specific needs of each group and each building. So reducing building assignments for the teachers in the program would help us provide more consistent, targeted instruction as part of a dedicated building staff. There's also increased demand for school-owned instruments. Most families provide their own instruments, but we would very much like to restore our previously board-approved 5-year instrument purchase plan that was enacted in 2020 so that we can help bridge that gap. Moving on to junior high school, grades 6 to 8 music. We've seen many improvements in student readiness and performance levels, thanks in large part to strengthened elementary programs since 2020 and a slow but steady recovery from the pandemic's significant disruptions. We assess student progress through participation and effort rubrics, group performance evaluations, general music assignments, and tests. Music remains a powerful motivator, supporting creativity, friendship, and emotional well-being. But we face real challenges. Budget cuts have further reduced instrumental lesson sections and limited our ability to differentiate instruction for instrumental ensemble students. Some general music classes include students performing at very different levels. We have honor students in the same class as students who perform significantly below grade level. So this makes it tough for the teachers to tailor our instruction and provide curricular consistency at a pace that meets the needs of all students. We need to look at placement and pacement a little more closely with our general music classes and consider strategies like flexible groupings or smaller class sizes to better serve all of those students' needs. Technology is a significant strength for us at the junior high school. Tools like smartboards, digital pianos, Google for Education software, and recently added Quaver music curriculum software help us to engage students in new ways. We're also exploring options like Sight Reading Factory to help further improve music literacy skills for our junior high school students. So to wrap up, I just want to emphasize a few key takeaways with you. Music education supports the whole child, cognitively, emotionally, and physically, something that I feel very important. Our programs align well with state standards, continue to evolve with strong curricular tools, improved instruction across the district, and professional development. As I said before, we need to restore previously approved funding for the purchasing of new instruments. A need exists to improve staffing flexibility, especially for our elementary ensembles and 6 to 8 instrumental lesson sections. We recommend better support for differentiated instruction in our junior high general music classes. Ultimately, when we invest in music education, we invest in student success, not just in the arts, but of course every aspect of their learning and development. So again, I want to thank you all for your continued support of our music programs. I'm happy to take any questions.
A question in reference to the 5-year reinvestment in the instruments that had stopped, and hopefully we'll get back on track with that. Has not being able to keep up with that magnified the problem? Meaning, have we fallen further behind in replenishing those instruments versus if we had stayed on task?
It just limits our ability to purchase new instruments. So it's very hard for us to predict what we're going to actually need from the students and the parents. Right. So we like to have a pool of instruments available so that we don't have to turn anyone away from the program if they want to participate and they can't afford to get their own instrument.
Okay.
So that's really what I'm looking to do with that plan.
Right. I just recall in the first time we spoke, you had mentioned there was just instruments that were beyond repair.
Yes.
And those are the ones I think
we replaced some of those. The most urgent purchases were done already in the first few years. We still have some other instruments that are older than me, but they still work, so we're still using them.
Understood.
So the kids may not want to use them because they're ugly and they're all dented, but we are making progress. We just need to keep it going.
Yes, I agree. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duran.
Thank you all.
Okay, and our last presentation for tonight, if I can invite Mr. John Grillo, our architect, to come on up. And Jay, you have the presentation? Yeah, okay, good. And we have Mr. Michael Ojidis, our facilities director, also with us.
How are you tonight? Good
Good,
evening,
how are
everybody.
you? So just while we are setting up, a quick little recap. We have funding left over, right, from prior capital projects. As allowed, right, with regards to any capital project. Anytime a community votes for a capital project, we vote for the project, and we also vote for potential B-list items, right? In the event that the estimates that are provided or the work that is done comes in a little bit lower, right, than the initial projected amount. Because again, when everything gets approved and then the actual time in which the work actually happens, there is some considerable amount of time that passes in between that. Then once that happens and we do have some funding left over, then as a district, we have the ability to then tap in and do some of that, some of those B-list items, to continue the project. So we started that conversation a while ago, and this is a follow-up, right, from the previous conversation we had at a board meeting.
Okay, thank you again, everybody. Just want to walk you through really the funding sources. So you really have two different funding sources right now, or two buckets of money. You have the funds that are available from the 2015 bond issue. There is $515,000 left. And one of the things you have to remember is when the community votes on a project, they vote on a not to exceed X number of dollars and the specific projects that you can spend the money on. We can't say to the community, we're going to do windows, roofs, doors, and then we do science labs and turf fields. We have to do what is allocated in the 2022 bond, $9.7 million. There is about $2.8 million left of unspent. 2015 bond was much more expansive. A lot of different projects in there. The 2022 2022 bond was really more limited in terms of site work, the tennis courts, and one of the other projects there was district-wide window replacement. So as we're going through some of these projects, and remember, you want to do a inside project with an outside project because that'll get you your building aid. If you send a site work project up to the state by itself, the state will approve it, but you won't get building aid. So we wanted to tie something in. So we had looked at some of the interior classroom spaces. We were asked to look at family consumer science, some of the technology rooms, those kind of things. Unfortunately, the way construction costs are going right now, $500,000, unfortunately, is really not enough to do a full-blown, I call it a gut, renovation, all the finishes, all the casework, demo, the asbestos, ventilation, furniture, appliances. So the last two projects we did for middle school family consumer science, they came in well over $600,000. So we're limited there, and I really don't like to recommend, I'll obviously do whatever the board tells me to do, but to renovate a classroom halfway, it really oh my God, you did all of this money, but you left this or you left that. So how else could we achieve that? So Michael had brought me down to the technology rooms, and one thing I had remembered that one of the B-list projects in the 2022 bonds were window replacements. So what we had looked at was the existing conditions of, so this is
That's the family consumer science,
which is the
other,
wrong presentation.
correct. And I apologize for that.
That's okay. I can sing. Okay, so here is the technology lab. Obviously you could see it's old and tired. It's from the original construction. Just some existing conditions. But one of the things we had talked about is one of the technology rooms is on the corner of the building. It's isolated. So if we wanted to tie in additional funds from the 2022 project, you could do the technology room with the windows in that building. And then the rest of the project would be the $2.8 million project would be the site work, the tennis courts, the basketball courts, and all of that stuff we had looked at. So we had put some numbers together. And to fully renovate the technology room as well as the windows in that corner room was $885,000. And then we took a look, and then the second project we were talking about, which I had originally done a presentation back several months ago, was the exterior renovation to the athletic complex. Tennis courts, handball court, basketball court, the Eagle walkway, outdoor seating area, with some of the sails, some of that stuff there. We really haven't sat with the nuts and bolts and met with the end users yet. So a lot of these are just pretty pictures. So for example, the outdoor, if you look at the outdoor tennis courts, when you just look at the Google Earth map, right now those courts aren't to code. You need 12 feet in between each court. So we know once we get a full survey, we'll be able to come back and then actually put real dimensions. Right now, again, everything is just in rendering and nice, pretty pictures and stuff. We do have time. It's not oh my goodness, like the state several years ago when they were between 36 and 38 week backlog. Right now, they're at backlogs like I haven't seen since I started working in the early 90s. They're at 2 to 4 week backlogs. So we're not in that pressure of, oh my God, we got to make decisions, we got to make them quick because it's going to be at the state for 9 months, and we want to get it done next summer. I would rather, because I don't know what the future is going to hold, if it's going to expand, it's going to go to 10, 12, whatever it is. So I would like to get the stuff up to the state as soon as possible, but not without end user, board member, et cetera's full input in terms of what we want to do, how we want to do it. As always, what we would do is we would design something with a base bid and then several alternates. We can pick and choose the alternates. The priority would be, for example, here would be the tennis courts. Alternate one, if we wanted to do one of the outdoor seating areas or the second outdoor seating area or some of the upper sails or the Eagle Walk, that kind of stuff. We can pick and choose, but like I said before, until we get the full survey, we got to price out. I think we got the approval to start it. They have to work around the school schedule. I'll be able to report back and show you actual dimensions of how everything is going to fit on that site. And I'll definitely need some input from the junior high folks in terms of family consumer science, technology, how do we spend those monies, because we're a little more limited in that original bond proposition. And this is just the 6 steps that we need to complete. Obviously, Board of Education approval to move to the next level. We've already received soil boring and survey and utility markout proposals. Once we get those back, we can start our design work. That'll go through, May and June, maybe into July. I did this, 3 weeks ago, so it was 10 to 12 weeks. It's down to 2 to 4 weeks, architect and engineer. We would bid in the late fall, early winter, lock somebody in early, give them the work, so we're the first kids on the block with the new toy, so everybody wants to, we'll get more bidders. And we would complete the work in the summer of '26. And questions?
John, can you go back to this?
Yep.
So conceptual here in terms of design, right? Maybe we can kind of start there,
Sure.
right? In terms of the outside, because that outside project at the junior high school is definitely the priority, right? And then obviously we know that we absolutely have to tie it to something in the inside of the junior high school, right? So from a conceptual, the overall concept there of where things are, let's start off there. Do we feel comfortable with the layout, right? And then that second page, I believe after the last meeting, the board had asked for maybe some shaded, right? Like different concepts of ways to reach the goal of having some shade for students there. I think the other ask was some green with, right? So it's not all concrete, right? Or
Yeah, I think we were looking for something around the tennis courts to soften it, so it's
Right.
not so concrete.
Correct.
The original walkway to the main field had some kind of an arch, a little bit more decorative arch. My only question is, we would have to have these plans approved, correct? In order to spend the money, we would have to go out for a referendum?
No.
no.
You already have voter approval to spend the money.
So we're going straight to the state in terms of state approval on the project.
So, okay, so we only have to approve the new plans, because we're changing it, we've changed and waited a year, we don't have to go through that?
Yeah, they were never an official submission to the state. I think the previous
Okay,
firm had done a
okay.
bunch of renderings and
Yes.
stuff
Right.
like that. So it never went to the state to get formal approval to meet building codes.
Okay.
So it got to the pretty picture phase, which is where we are now. And then the next step would be formal construction documents that contractors can actually bid on and put pricing together. But we have, or you have the approval, 2 different funding sources, one from the 2015 and one from 2022. So on the SED forms that we submit, they'll indicate the amount of money that could be allocated from 2015 and the amount of money that can be allocated from 2022. But no more voter approval is required if we stay this route.
Because, all right, I was just concerned because we changed and, we had originally we held off on this project.
Yep.
Because it was getting to the point where we were taking things off that it was almost like we weren't really doing anything. Now that we've able to.
Correct.
Take from the other bond, we have the money to do this right,
Yes.
and the voters approved. I didn't know if any of that changed because of.
No, we do not have to go back to, the only way you would have to go back to the voters if you said we want to put a bubble over the tennis courts or we want to add a Ferris wheel. It wasn't approved originally, now we want to do it.
Okay,
So
understood.
changing scope and dollar amount, that's when you would have to go.
Okay. Any question?
I have a question regarding this layout that's up there right now. As I know we touched on it at one point for our emergency services. Is there enough room for them to get back there still with this? Because I think this layout's beautiful, but ambulance, fire trucks.
I'm gonna hold off on answering that until I get the full survey and then lay it out. Basketball going left to right, I mean, it's not a formal sport. You really want to have your sports go north to south. This one's going more east to west, so you're gonna get, but it's only pickup games and that kind of thing. It's not-
recreational.
Yeah. And I think by the tennis courts, they're going to get wider. That overall footprint's going to get wider because of the spacing. I didn't know if I wanted to keep the basketball court to the left of court one, because then it's kind of in the middle of that field area. So I'd like to see if we could tuck it there, but I'm not going to know until we have the full survey, so I know what kind of path we'll have. We only need 10 feet. We should have it, but I want to be determined.
They had said there was enough room to get vehicles back there, and then it's a different level of concrete. I guess
Yep.
it's a heavier concrete
Correct.
to
Yeah.
handle that traffic.
That dark blue court, that's the handball court?
The one to the right would be a handball court, yes, and then yes. And we would play with that area. Right now, I show a lot of out-of-bounds area near there. We can tighten that up a little bit as well.
Yeah, and the height, I remember when we talked previously, the height of some of the fences back there, it gave it that prison yard look. Do those still have to be 20 feet in the air?
I mean, tennis court, you want at least 10 feet, or you'll be
Okay.
chasing balls all over the place.
think it's a lot more
Handball
than-
court, you could get away with against recreational. The ball goes all over the place. You could eliminate that. You could, by all means, eliminate the fence around it. I mean, there's no need to again, it's recreational.
I think it was just the height just seems to be a lot more than I've seen elsewhere.
If we weren't going to go with the height to keep the balls in, I don't think I would spend the money and put like a 4 foot around it. I would just leave it. I think I would leave it open.
Yeah, I'm just concerned with the height. It just seems a lot higher than I've seen elsewhere. And I could just be all the rust and corrosion that's throwing me off too.
So going with what Chris is saying, with, that the fence look and then the rust and corrosion issue, is there a big difference between going, I guess, standard metal fence versus like a black vinyl or something? Is there?
That's what I always use. I always use black vinyl.
I know that elevates the look too.
Yeah.
It makes it look a lot nicer and the colors pop.
Yeah, and I know some of the older renderings that we were looking at, had to look at them, and I would never, professional courtesy say anything bad. But two things. One is simply maintenance. I mean, there's a lot of. It looked beautiful. The walk looked beautiful, but a lot of maintenance there. And now with this whole Safe Schools by Design Act, I used to, when I would walk into a school, the first thing I looked at is handicap accessibility. How does this person get from this place to? Now I walk in and all I think about is, God forbid, what could happen in this case and that case. I just walked past your administration building up these big, huge bushes right in front of the building. No offense, but I would be out there tomorrow cutting them puppies down. I'm in a new realm of thinking, and a lot of those bushes and stuff, it's just places where people could hide. I don't know. It's my new sightlines event.
We did that. I remember covering that previously with
Okay.
lighting, having lighting out there. There was
Yep.
lampposts and more decorative, but
Yep.
it was actually for security reasons.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Yeah, we could do that.
So what was the timeframe as far as the surveys that you were saying?
So the surveys will probably take a couple of weeks between the surveys and the utility markouts, and then we can lay something out right away. And I'll email it to the district so we can pass it around to the board sooner than later. And then I'll be able to show you real dimensions and how everything lays out. I don't love a lot of concrete, and we could do a lot more with the stamped concrete. It holds up well. But if we are going to have an area where cars and trucks will drive, I wouldn't recommend the stamped concrete, because the amount of money you would need to put, rebar underneath to prevent it. But you could do stamped concrete and just an area of, the asphalt, just where they have to drive back there. We can, play with that a lot.
John, our next board meeting is May 13th. You think in terms of surveys?
I will have to check with
pretty
those guys,
close?
because those are all
Okay.
out of my control, so I
Yeah,
gotta
yeah.
see.
Would the press box be able to be utilized in this too, with that money? We're talking about putting.
No.
Did you just move session stand?
So it is. It definitely is. So there is, we actually had a couple of email banters on who wanted to go out there with.
The concession stand, I believe we can demo that in-house. The press box has all the electrical facilities connected to it that operates the Musco lights, the field lighting system. So John and I discussed that possibility, and unfortunately, because of the amount of work that would have to be done with the electric system. It's just not cost effective to do that right now.
For the press box.
For the press box. The concession stand is a hip roof, that's wood construction, and it's block. We can take that down in-house. We could demo that in-house. I would feel safe
Would
about
that
that.
really be beneficial for you guys for storage, or should we take it down?
It could be, I would like to use the press box for storage, but I would like to reduce it to a one-story building. That way, we're not dealing with the elevation of that building as it, is an issue for us.
So the concession stand can't be used for storage unless we do some work to the concession stand. And again, it's not a building that is approved by the state, right, all the above. So in order for us to keep it, right, we actually have to dedicate some money to do some work to that, even to keep it as a simple, yeah. So the press box, right, like that area, particularly because we do have to keep it, right, for the areas, for the reasons that Mike mentioned, we would want to lean to, if we're going to dedicate some money there to close that loop, right, and then use that as storage there. I know, yeah.
One of the things that we could explore is that when there's an excavation, I did see plans at one point, it looks like a sanitary sewer line was potentially going to be run to maybe, correct some of the issues with the concession stand. So I can definitely, as we get this project kicked off, consult with John if there's a point that we can utilize to maybe get there, even through maybe not this funding source, but our in-house funding source. I'll certainly look into that. But again, we could, I think, even demo it in-house. I'm not sure because of where it is on our field that we would want to use that as a storage site.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's our entry point to
Yeah.
our varsity sports. I don't think that that's where you want a storage facility. So to me, it's either we legitimize it. I think we're having a pretty good run with the food concessions. I will say that. That's not a bad thing that has come out of this. But, I guess everybody can have an opinion on that.
Yeah.
That may not align with mine. So, but before we totally annihilate it, I'll definitely, consult with John and get his opinion if there's any salvation to it, All right, or a way to salvage it, excuse me.
Once this project gets approved and you get all your permits, how long would it take to get everything complete?
I would want to steal it from you guys in the beginning of June, so it's ready for September 1st. Between, inclement weather and that kind of stuff.
So you would need the whole summer?
Yeah, the inside, probably just, end of June through September 1st, but the outside, I always like to grab 12 weeks if I can. I mean, that first summer will not be very, because we're gonna have to work around finals and regions at the junior high level, so,
Graduation.
all of that stuff goes on there. If you have graduation there, then I don't know if I want to start then, but then obviously that pushes you into the fall. So it's something that we would have to talk through as to, when I can seal 10 to 12 weeks.
I mean, I think it would have to be that we make alternative plans, right, for that, because otherwise then you're going into September, October in terms of construction. Yeah, late June, yeah. But again, I mean, we're kind of putting several steps ahead, right, in terms of timeline. Ultimately, we definitely would be looking at, Mr. Recomendado, of doing this project next, summer of 2026.
Right.
And then we could frame, how early or how late we want the project to go. Okay, so the next step would definitely be in terms of the surveys,
Yep.
right? Because then we get, deeper into it, and we would be then looking at this overall concept here, right, in terms of, for, state approval, and then we can talk about in terms of the alternates. I mean, ideally, I would have loved for us to be able to kind of capture in there, obviously, the technology room at the junior high school and the family and consumer science at the junior high school. We're not going to be able to, obviously, do everything, but we'll the windows, I think, again, we can do a portion of that,
Yep.
but not everything that we wanted to do. So the next step, as soon as the surveys are in, then John,
do
you'll
the
reach out to
layouts.
us, and then we'll close the loop and come back to the board for final thumbs up, and then we can give you authorization to send everything to the state and take it from there. Yeah, so we went through that with the junior high school. We met with the phys ed department chairperson and with the junior high school admin team at the time, and from a phys ed department perspective, from a coaching perspective, and from a building in terms of use of, they all, they actually, the department chair even said, can we have more? Yeah. Yeah. All good? Any other questions? All right.
Good. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mike.
Have a great
Thank
night.
you.
We got it.
Okay. Yep. Let's go.
Oh, I didn't have my mic on.
Okay, statement of residence on agenda items only. At this time, residents wishing to share a statement should come forward to the microphone, state their name, their address, any organization they may be representing. Residents can also write their name and address on the index card provided and present it to the Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operations. Prior to giving their statement, please be aware matters relating to individual students, employees cannot be discussed at a public board meeting. Residents will be given up to 3 minutes to share their statement. The statement of residence is scheduled for 15 minutes. We will record the statements, questions presented by residents. At the conclusion of all statements of residents, we will respond to those statements or questions we can answer in their entirety. For questions requiring further research, responses will be provided at the next meeting. Any statements?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Got my glasses on. Firstly, I would like to thank the Board of Ed Trustees for the time and dedication that you commit to volunteer for our students and our community. I want you to know that I appreciate every effort and recognize that you are faced with making some very difficult decisions. I personally would love for the budget vote to pass and for it to pass on the first try. We are all aware that if the budget fails and if we go into a contingency budget, every single student in our district will be negatively impacted. At the last Board of Ed meeting, it was stated that it is important to replenish the fund balance for rainy days. I don't disagree with that, and I can understand the concept of being conservative. However, it is my humble opinion that the community would be more accepting of the proposed budget and more likely inclined to vote yes for the budget if they saw more things go back to the students, especially after seeing the closure of one of our elementary schools. I don't doubt that you have done your due diligence, analyzing each line carefully to propose a budget that does not pierce the cap, even with the cost of living going up tremendously. But for the sake of saving some time and resources having to vote a second time, like we did last year, I'm asking you to please reconsider bringing some more items back for our students for the next school year, such as some more clubs and enrichment services at the elementary level for those students who do not need AIS during the intervention block, academic center for the junior high school and high school, as well as some more electives. And I also support Mr. Duran's presentation tonight for a bigger budget for music, for more instruments, and specific building instructors. Another area of concern is that we need more stability with the busing situation. I'm just not sure, sometimes what to do with all the messages I get on Parents Square notifying me almost on a daily basis, morning and afternoon, that my child's bus route is being covered by Suffolk Transportation. I'm sorry, I don't know what to do with that information. It's daily. Additionally, I don't have students in elementary school, but in an effort to make this transition easier for the parents that do, I would ask that you release the time schedules for the schools that the kids would be attending, earlier rather than finding out in August. This way the parents can plan accordingly to secure a slot for either before care or after care. There are waiting lists for both of these, so this would alleviate some stress from the parents. And I think I just want to say, I always want to end it on a positive note. I want to thank everyone who made it possible for the students at the high school to be able to participate in Blue and Gold this year. From a parent perspective, it is lovely to see our students come together and create something so amazing. I encourage all the trustees to attend and witness firsthand why it's so important to our students to keep these kinds of things as a tradition. And that's it. Thank you, everyone. Good
Thank
night.
you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Shannon Camarda. I live at 849 Brook Street. I would like to echo some of the sentiments of the previous speaker and say that I do appreciate the hard work that goes into the school budget and really analyzing it and coming in at the tax cap this year. With that being said, since the last meeting, the release of the line-by-line budget, I was able to take some time and look into that. I did want to send an email before tonight's meeting, but, you know, life happens and things get away from you. So with that being said, after looking at the released line-by-line budget, many Forest Avenue line items were zeroed out on the new line-by-line budget, and I understand that those reflect positions that were eliminated while others are being moved to the other elementary schools due to the consolidation. My concern is the TBA line items that are significantly higher than would appear to be last year's corresponding line items. For example, principals' clerical salaries for Forest Avenue for the 24-25 school year was $64,103 and zeroed out on the line-to-line budget. There is now a new 25-26 school year line item that says principals' clerical salaries, Forest Avenue, to be assigned, I'm assuming that's what TBA means, and shows an allocation of $105,329. Another area that I found was special ed salaries for Forest Avenue for the 24-25 school year was $321,771. There is now a new line item, and that was zeroed out. A new line item for the 25-26 school year says special education salaries, Forest Avenue, TBA, with an allocation of $602,152. My question to the board is, why are these new or newly allocated line items almost twice the corresponding budget line items for the 24-25 school year? It is my understanding that positions were being maintained and relocated as needed under the consolidation. I know that there are contractual obligations, such as raises every school year, but these significant increases in line items cannot solely be explained by contractual obligations. That being said, when looking over the line-by-line budget, this isn't the case with all of the TBA line items. For example, there is a 24-25 line item for reading teachers K-5 Forest Avenue at $226,193, with the new 25-26 line item of reading teachers K-5 Forest Avenue TBA at $235,636,000, which would obviously could be explained then by those salary increases and contractual obligations. I'm asking the board to please look at these lines that show the significant increase for the upcoming school year and offer an explanation to the community so that we can better understand these new line items for the upcoming school year's budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, no further questions. Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is Liz Burns, 151 Lexington Avenue. I currently have students at Forest Avenue, so, but we're handling that okay. That's not what I'm here. I have a question about field trips. I know it was discussed earlier. My question is, why are parents not allowed to pay or contribute to a field trip in the district?
Is that all you
That's
have?
it.
Okay.
That is my question.
Thank you very much. That's it? Okay. Yeah, did you want? Yeah, because I know a couple of those would probably clear the air on some things.
Yes, so the field trips, right? So it's actually not a specific West Babylon rule per se, right? So field trips within school environments, right, have to be tied to the curriculum, right, the instruction. So if they are, we make them, right, and they are part of the program, part of the grade, then we are, as a school district, legally obligated, right, to pay for that, right? So it's something that we learned of quite a number of years ago, right? And adjusted because years ago, right, that was in play where, parents would pay for, right, a different field trips. So from a legal perspective, right, if we are indicating that part of our curriculum is for our third graders to go to XYZ field trip, right, then as a school district, we have to pay for that trip. So that's the field trip, response. From a budget line piece, right? So a couple of pieces. The Forest Avenue, I'll start off with the special education line in particular. So last year, the original budget, so when we reflect in terms of all of the numbers, it shows the budget, last year's budget, right? So the 321,000 number that was referenced in terms of special education Forest Avenue salaries, I'm going to actually read the other elementary salaries because I think it'll make more sense when you hear the other numbers. So Sanapog special education salaries were 601,000, the original budget. South Bay 769,000, Tooker Avenue 718,000, JFK 851,000, Forest Avenue 321,000. I'm rounding. So the actual, that was the original budget under the special ed salaries for the elementary buildings. At some point during the school year, that we have a lot of different transfers, right, that happen in terms of where people's salaries are paid out of from different codes. At some point throughout the school year, there was an actual adjusted budget, right, for the Forest Avenue line. This is a 24-25 school year report that Ms. Galante pulled for me. And that 321,000, again, I'm rounding, was adjusted by an additional 256,918. So this year's actual Forest Avenue special ed salaries is approximately $578,000, not that 321, right? And I referenced the other elementary schools because when you compare now that adjusted budget for Forest Avenue special ed salaries of $578,000, that is more in line with Sanapog is $601,000, South Bay is $769,000, Tooker Avenue is $718,000. So this year's actual adjusted budget for that special ed 2250-1500 code is $578,000, right? So you then account for, the normal kind of contractual pieces beyond that, and then that brings you to, I think it's like 604, 607, whatever kind of that number. Exactly, right? So it actually, and to be quite honest, when I forget who was it that brought up the question to me, I'm like, that is weird. The three, right? Like, so we're kind of going through, and again, each one of these, and during the year we do all the different kind of budget transfers and different moves. But specifically in terms of looking at the budget to budget, I initially was like, oh, you know what? It's probably under the special ed umbrella, the 2250. In zeroing out, because we explained beforehand that we zeroed out the forest. We didn't place them where they need to go. They're under TBA to be announced and to be determined. Next year, when everything is in place, then everyone's going to be moved to the appropriate building, right, off of that Forest TBA budget line, right? If they go to Tooker, if they go to the junior high school, if they go right to all these different places, then all of those transfers will appear on an agenda, right, on a board agenda, reflecting where all of those new those salaries are being transferred to. So initially, when I first looked at it, I said, you know what, it's probably the special ed paraprofessional people, right, that are in there, but the special education paraprofessionals are there. This is purely, it was missing the part of, in reality, the budget for Forest Avenue special ed salaries is not 321, it's actually 578. That was adjusted during the school year to account for the difference of people that should have been paid out of that budget code, but were being paid out of a different budget code. And you'll see that in the 2250-1500 code where it was decreased from there and moved to Forest Avenue for the 24-25. But if you want it, like, you can reach out to me, right, and we can I can show you. But now that better explains. No, it's not supposed to happen. So I'm going to kind of pause it in terms of right there. So here's the piece, right, in terms of all of the budgets, right? The budget gets adopted, right? And then there's a lot of constant movement, right, in terms of in between the lines. And actually, we were chatting about it beforehand, and Mr. Pavlo was like, so do we then show the adjusted budget, right? Like let's say next year, we can't do that, right? Because then the question's going to be, wait a minute, but that wasn't the approved budget. That's right, that wasn't the approved budget, right? It was these numbers, but then as a result of we got new students who we needed to open up a new class, and now we needed to transfer money from here to here, right? That's a constant. That's a constant ebb and flow, right? You know, in terms of within each of the different budget lines. But I think, and particularly after I read through the other special ed elementary buildings, right? It makes sense why that budget line was then needed to be adjusted during the school year to not 321, but to 578. And now from the 578 to the 604 or 607 or 602, thank you. Then that's contractual, you know, in terms of the changes there.
I think the confusion
The other-
happens with the difference between last year's budget versus this year's expenditures.
Expenditures.
And it's
Very-
not a comparison
it's
because
not.
when you make next year's budget, and that throws off the percentages, because we're seeing last year's budget, or everybody sees last year's budget, then they see what a budget line is going to be for next year, but the factor is of the actual expenditure.
Correct,
So it
right.
throws it off. It's not necessarily, it's just another column that would be on there in a budget that is still ongoing. We're still living in this year's.
Correct.
We're still living in
Still-
this year's expenditures, so those numbers would be different, but at the end of the day, the bottom line difference is
Yes.
going to be the same.
Yes. And also on the clerical piece, right? The ripple effect, and we're still living it, actually, Mr. Hanley met with me this morning, right? Who is ultimately, I'll say, affected, right, or directly affected from a civil service perspective when we talk about office assistants and clericals? It's not the individuals that are in the specific seats, right? Because time that people have served in other positions from a civil service perspective counts as seniority. So there's several different moving parts when it comes to the clerical piece. I don't know, Mr. Hanley, if you want to add anything else to that, but so it's not, yeah, we're trying to, you know, we're putting people based on bumping rights, right, and their salaries into different places. So the to be announced definitely. I'm trying to, because these are singletons, right? It's people with higher salaries, more seniority, that are that need to be moved to different places, because people with right, not the individuals that are in those buildings are the ones that ultimately whose jobs were affected. Okay. Okay, that's it for this. Okay, thank you.
Need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Anthony, John, all those in favor? Okay, that's everyone. Okay. Policy review, none. Old business? New business?
Can I jump in on something very quick?
Yes? Yes?
If I may, to the West Babylon Board of Education, they just voted on the consent agenda, right? Which means that the board just approved the recommendation, my recommendation for tenure of the following professionals in our school district: Carmela Bruto, Gina Delarado, Cristo Montesione, Jennifer Oman, Sean Knoning, Michelle Schulman, Amanda Smolin, and Angela Mayo. So congratulations to all of you. And if you're in the audience, please stand. Thank you. That's it. Yes.
Okay. I just had a question on the new business only. I don't know if it's new business, new question. I had it earlier. Last meeting, was he presenting something?
No, I think he's just what.
Oh. I didn't, he's politicking. I had flagged this to ask earlier when you talked about enrollment. So BOCES had projected 216 for kindergarten entrance this year. We came in at 209, and then you, like, I know Sean had mentioned that would change. What's the current number of students in 12th grade? Do we know that off? Is it like 340?
Give us a few minutes.
Oh, I
Thank
didn't,
you.
I didn't mean to throw that at you.
We can pull it up.
But the overall question is, I think whatever last year's graduation class is, so 209, does that stay relatively within that number as
As they move up, yeah.
they move up?
So that's really, those have been our huge drops, right? Like, so your incoming, right, the elementary classes are much lower, right, than your exiting.
Right.
So yes, that has been, for the most part, that has stayed then, give or take, 10, 15 students.
Okay. I was just curious if that tends to fluctuate as time goes on, but I guess kids move in, kids move out. It's gonna even out, okay.
Yeah, so now it doesn't, it's not a huge in terms of difference as they continue to kind of move up. But here's a piece, right? So next year, we will reflect, 100 and, what did you say, 321? 321. Yeah, so at least 100 students less in our total enrollment by virtue of the incoming class, kindergarten being about 100 students less than the exiting seniors. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Sure.
Back slowly.
I don't have any further update beyond what was shared, I think also via email, right, for the board. So we have a number of them that have been restored and been placed back. They're still working on continuing to try and get more. It's not complete yet. Yep, they're still working on it. Yep. And it's, graduation, right, all the different videos, yes.
I had gone on and then a couple days later, there was more. So I don't know if it's just building,
Yeah.
retrieving the archive. Hopefully it
Yep.
continues, but. All right.
Yeah, it's
okay.
not closed out yet, yeah.
All right, great. Okay. Yeah. All right. Statement of residence. At this time, residents wishing to share a statement should come forward to the microphone, state their name, their address, and any organization they may be representing. Residents can also write their name and address on the index card provided and present it to the Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations. Prior to giving their statement, please be aware matters relating to individual students or employees cannot be discussed at a public board meeting. Residents will be given up to 3 minutes to share their statement. Statement of residence is scheduled for 15 minutes. Any statements? Not it? Not it? Okay. Okay, need a motion to exit public session and enter into executive session to discuss Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operation interviews. All those in favor? John? What? I didn't do a motion? Oh, need a motion to enter into executive session. What did I say? I'm sorry. Need a motion to enter into executive session to discuss Assistant Superintendent of Finance Operation interviews. John, Anthony, all those in favor? Okay. All right.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you
so
very
much.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.